Hey everybody, I'm Delicia. Thanks for tuning into the Cigar Vixen channel. Today I'm going to be doing not just a review, but an actual pairing. I've been promising you guys for way too long now that I would get back to doing the pairing videos, and what better to pair with than, of course, my own coffee. Hello. So today I'm going to be doing a pairing with the Tazas Day Drinker, which is a Guatemalan coffee, with this beautiful Norteño Edición Limitada. This is Drew Estate made, and it's blended by Willie Herrera. This was my number 4 pick for the year. It's a fantastic cigar. If you can't find the Edición Limitada, which is a special kind of tweaked blend, and it's this really unique little box pressed Churchill, you can pick up just the regular Norteño. It's going to be slightly different, but it's still a fantastic stick. In fact, it's one that, gosh, I mean, when they first came out, I smoked them quite a bit. I always keep a box in my humidor. They come in a variety of atolas. It's just a really great cigar, especially if you're a Maduro fan, because it has all those right flavors for us Maduro lovers. I definitely, you know, for those of you who maybe are new to watching, I don't know, I've said it a million times, but I love Maduros. That's definitely a go-to for me, more so than any other type of, you know, cigars that are out there, especially anytime you're using, you know, any configuration of like a San Andres, you know, Mexican San Andres, or a broadleaf. The Connecticut broadleaf is extremely flavorful, but yeah, anyways, so rambling on, let me get to the specifics on this cigar in case you missed it. So this one, as I mentioned, it's a semi-box press Churchill. It's a 7x48 to be specific. And again, it's kind of a unique Norteño blend. So it has that nice flavorful San Andres wrapper, Honduran binder, and then Nicaraguan fillers. And you're gonna get a variety of incredible flavors on this guy here. But again, with this Churchill size, and being that it's that box pressed, it doesn't feel like a Churchill for one. And you know, when you bring it up to your mouth, it's a lot easier. It doesn't have that roundness to it, but it's the length on it is nice. You know, it's nice for in this case, you know, if you brew yourself a pot of coffee like I am currently doing, it's perfect because you can pour a couple cups of coffee and you can enjoy this wonderful cigar. Now, I know I put that challenge out there a while ago for a lot of you. I think it was a few weeks back. I did a whole top 5 with just coffee recommended cigars and or coffee pairing cigars. And I know there was a lot of comments. You know, there's a lot of you who do it already, and then there was a handful of you that were like, nah, I don't know. Some of you are willing to try it. You're like, yeah, I can't wait to, you know, try one of these cigars with a coffee and see what all the fuss is about. And then there was a couple people that were like, no, you know, I don't have time in the morning, or I just can't see having a cigar first thing in the morning. But the good news is, you don't have to drink your coffee only in the morning. You can do afternoon. So, which is why I'm brewing the Day Drinker. That's the name, is why, you know, I picked that particular coffee, you know, bean to go with the name, because you can drink it all day long, and it's not the way, depending on how you brew it, of course, always makes a difference. It's similar to everything else. I feel like in the beginning, when I was getting really heavily into like the coffee side of things, I was learning a lot. Years back, I mean, I would just drink whatever was brewing in a pot, didn't really ask a lot of questions, dolled it up with lots of sugar and cream, didn't taste the coffee. And, you know, I've learned quite a bit since then. So the grind size, your water temperature is a huge factor. It should be, you know, I like to do mine right about 200, 201 degrees. That should be like the temperature of your water when it's brewing. How fast you brew it. If you're doing a French press, a pour over, just a regular drip coffee, AeroPress. I mean, there's so many different techniques. I do a pour over. I actually have an automatic pour over for morning times when, or times like right now when I want to be doing something else and have my coffee going. However, when I do have a little bit more time, I do a French press or just a single cup pour over, and I love that. Not a fan of the paper filters. I don't do that. I have a metal filter. Again, there's all these little things that you learn, and really it's fun. It's like smoking different cigars. There's no set one rule or one way that's better than another. It's just like these preferred methods to enhance the experience. So For example, you know, how you like to cut your cigars. Are you a guillotine, you know, straight cut? Are you a V-cut person? Do you like to punch it? Do you just pull a little bit off with your finger? Not like that one is better than the other. It's just more of a personal preference and trying lots of different things, depending on the vitola size, all of that stuff. And then how you light it, all of that stuff just enhances an experience, which is, for me, that's really the purpose and why I started doing these videos way back when, was to just share my own experience and kind of hopefully it translates into bettering your guys' experience if there was something that maybe you weren't doing, or maybe you were doing, but it was coming out wrong, or whatever it may be. So that's the idea. Again, also with the coffee that I have, it's the coffee that I selected was with pairing it with a different, you know, variety of cigars in mind. That's kind of like the whole origin of that, because I definitely love both. So again, rambling on, I'm going to go ahead and get into this, doing a straight cut, which I tend to do, by the way, on, gosh, probably the majority of my cigars. I have a lot of different cutters. I will do the little pinch, especially if it's a pigtail, I'll just kind of pull it. If I don't have a cutter, I will use the little bit of nail I have and just kind of pull a little bit, but normally I just do a straight cut. Sometimes I'll do a V cut, but usually that's kind of a go-to. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get this toasted up here. So I'm curious if you guys would like to post in the comments, for those of you who were new to trying the coffee and cigar recommendation as a pairing, and you know, if you went ahead and tried it, I'd love to hear the feedback. You know, what were your thoughts? Which one did you try with coffee? What kind of coffee? How did you brew it? Did you put sugar and cream? You know, all those little things. So this is one of those, as soon as you light it, not only is the aroma incredible, but just that initial welcoming puff is like fantastic. So I went to an event a while back, not that long ago, actually, a couple months, and it was a pairing that I was just attending. I was a guest. They invited me, and it was a rum and cigar pairing. And the gentleman that was doing it was probably like, I'm gonna guess that he was close to 80, and he had his own technique, of course, for recommending how you should smoke and drink. In this case was rum. And he was talking about how the first few puffs of your cigar, don't even pay attention to them, which I found that really odd, because for me, the very first puff sometimes is like in this case, it's right away. It's just like, yeah, it's really good. So to each his own. That's just another thing where, depending on your experience or the type of cigars you tend to smoke, in that particular instance, he was a Cuban cigar person, probably only smoked Cuban cigars, so maybe that's the difference. But for me, that first puff should be really good. So the initial flavors that you pick up right away, you're getting a mixture of spicy and sweet right off the bat. So you do pick up kind of like a sweet buttercream. You get a little bit of a cayenne pepper, but that cayenne pepper is more so on the finish. So not that initial smoke that you're bringing in, and if you kind of let it hang out, kind of swish it around. Again, if you're new to smoking cigars, you might not want to start with this one just right off the bat, because it's a little bit more to it than it's not like a beginner stick. It's not crazy overwhelming or anything. It's just not maybe for your brand new smoker. But that being said, if you're looking to enhance how you're tasting your cigars, because I do see that comment a lot on, how do you pick up these different flavors? All I get is tobacco, that's totally fine. So here's some tips. You're gonna bring the smoke in and just kind of swish it around, almost like it looks weird, like maybe don't do this if you're out with people, but just by yourself, if you're just smoking alone, kind of swish the smoke around in your mouth, like almost like you're like mouthwash. I did a how to taste and how to smoke a cigar a long time ago, and it's kind of on there. I think I mentioned it, but just bring it in, swish it around, let it move around in there, and then just blow it out. And then when you get, you know, a couple puffs into it, bring some out of your nose, and that's going to really enhance those flavors for you. So, dark chocolate. Actually pick up, again, like that sweet buttercream. It's kind of a creamier smoke to it. The dark chocolate you pick up, and then bits of leather. So you get like a nice kind of an aged leather, if you will. And then that cayenne. Now I'm picking up a little bit of the black pepper, so kind of back and forth with the peppers. But that's more so on the finish. So once you've let everything out and you still have a taste in your palate, that's where you get a little bit more of the pepper. So once they kind of settle, that's kind of what you pick up. But more so, while you can taste the black pepper, you really do pick up a little bit more of that cayenne pepper flavor. So really nice. So there's a slight bit of an earthiness to it as well. But pretty much the flavors that I mentioned are what you're going to be getting initially. And as you work your way through the cigar, you'll notice some of those things tend to change slightly. And you pick up a few other nuances that creep in there. So I'm going to smoke this down a little bit more. Meanwhile, I'm going to pour my cup of coffee because I know that it's finished now. And I will be back to talk about, you know, bringing them together, the different flavors that are introduced to each other, and, you know, what else is going on with the cigar. So I'll be right back. Okay, so coming back in on right around or a little bit before the halfway point on the Norteño. And I have introduced, been kind of sipping on the coffee here, trying to slow the coffee drinking down because I do tend to drink a lot of coffee. However, again, with the day drinker coffee, it's kind of designed for that. It's not incredibly strong. It's kind of like a nice rounded medium to where you can drink it all day long. So that's what I do. The flavors together they're just really, to me, they're just, man, they go together extremely well. So the coffee itself, the day drinker, is a single origin Guatemalan coffee from Antigua, which is a beautiful place, by the way. If you've never visited Antigua, highly recommended. The flavors on its own, I mean, it naturally has those kind of like the dark chocolates, the caramel, a little bit of like a kind of like a brown sugar even. Pick up a touch of citrus. So together, they're right in that same wheelhouse. They're not competing for any flavors. They just mesh really nicely together. So again, with the cigar itself, you're still picking up like the dark chocolates. So again, with the coffee, it just enhances it. It almost like they just pull it. You do that little hint of citrus. It makes the overall experience that much richer. But again, they're not competing with each other. They're even the body of them, you know, they're right around the same. So again, the coffee, I did brew this particular one. I did a little bit stronger of a ratio of water to coffee than I normally do, just because the cigar I already know it's like a little bit past medium. It's like between if you're looking at a meter, between the medium and full meter, it's like somewhere smack dab in the middle to me. That's kind of what I pick up. So again, I kind of made the adjustment with my coffee in that ratio slightly, not a lot, like a couple grams. So it's just really nice together. Again, the flavors are kind of just bringing more of those out in each other rather than competing, because that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to have all this crazy different flavors going on to where either one, they'll kind of cancel each other out, or they just will not cross well. You know, it just, I wouldn't necessarily put like the Ethiopian coffee per se with this particular one. You could, however, I would say that one would be a little bit too bright. It'd be a little bit too much of the fruity elements, things like that. Whereas this one here, again, the dark chocolates, the caramels, the cigar itself has a nutty element as it gets into it. So again, at this, around this halfway point, you pick up a little bit more of like a cashew nut. Kind of in the background, still has the earthiness, still has the spice. So again, that's really, really nice. With, to me, that the cayenne pepper and a little bit of that black pepper spice and the citrus go really well together. I like that combination. And again, they just kind of hang out and enhance each other. There's no competing. It's really nice. But this pairing, rather than like if it kind of makes you nervous for your morning cigar and coffee, do it in the afternoon. So do like, you know, I don't know if you guys do like a 3 o'clock coffee run. I do. I definitely am. That's like my cutoff for coffee pretty much, because if I have regular coffee after about 3, I'll be up later than I want. So I reserve that for when I need to stay up late. But on just a regular day, 3 o'clock is around the cutoff time for me. Anywhere, you know, 3:30 if I'm pushing it. But it's a great time to have this particular pairing, to me, as your afternoon coffee and cigar. So after lunchtime, you know, brew a nice cup of coffee and then, you know, try this cigar out. It's a really nice time of day for the bodies of both. And again, those flavor notes that are coming out are just really, really nice. And oh, in case I didn't say it already, but I pretty much always do this, but I'm drinking my coffee black. So I don't have any cream in there. I don't have any sugar. That will change it. I don't know if it'll change it in a positive way or not. I mean, I guess if you were somebody that doesn't put cream and you just put a little bit of sugar, it would just make it a little sweeter. But the dark chocolate is not a sweet flavor to me. It's this particular one. It's more of, not bitter, but it's just it's a rich flavor. It's a little gritty. It's a little earthy in the background. It's not like a super sweet milk chocolate, because a milk chocolate note would go really nicely with somebody who puts cream in their coffee. But again, I challenge you, you know, to try your coffee black. That's a good test also if you're kind of like unsure about different coffee blends, or sorry, like the beans or like the origin of the coffee, and you just want to try it out. Do it black, you know, don't put anything in your coffee. It's a really nice way to actually taste your coffee. I challenge a lot of people to do that, because they'll tell me like, oh, I just buy my coffee at Costco. And not to knock anybody who does that, but try your Costco coffee. If you're somebody who does that, try it black. Don't put anything in it and tell me that it still is good. I don't see how that, you know, I'm not real sure about that. I personally don't think it is. Again, I'm a little bit of a coffee snob, because I forget where I went the other day. I went to breakfast or something with a friend at a restaurant and ordered coffee, and I always drink my coffee black. And it was so bad that I actually had to add sugar and cream and just anything to mask it. It was that bad. It was just like burnt. It tasted like it was probably 5 years old. I mean, it was just terrible, terrible. So again, I challenge you to try it that way. And then especially with the cigar element, you know, try it out without anything in your coffee first, introduce a cigar to it, or vice versa. I like to kind of get into my cigar a little bit, like maybe halfway through the first third, like I did on this one, and then introduce my coffee to it. And then that way I've had a chance to kind of really taste the cigar, and then I can really notice the difference when you add, you know, the cup of coffee to it. So it just brings out those flavors really nicely. But I'll go ahead and finish. I've been, again, rambling on. I'm going to smoke this down a little bit more, and I will check back in one last time just to tell you if there's any change in anything. All right, so back for the literally last little bit here. This is when you need one of those picks, which I have somewhere. Just a fantastic stick. I mean, I don't know. I would assume by now most people have smoked this. It's been around for a little while. Again, of course, the special limited edition size of this Churchill was a newer thing, but the overall, blend, it's not. There are some differences in comparison with the original Norteño, but to me, they're subtle. They're nothing that is extremely different. So again, if you haven't had this particular limited edition, Churchill, and you can only find just like a regular Norteño, you're gonna be fine. I mean, it's just a great cigar all the way around. It's balanced. It's a very rich and flavored cigar. There's a lot of different complex notes that come in and out. Towards this last little bit, you're still picking up the dark chocolate. You get a little bit of a charred oak in there, and then it still has those earthy elements going back and forth with like little dabs of sweetness, and then the nice underlying spice that's kind of like throughout the entire stick. But they do have different strength levels with that spice. So in the beginning, you really feel it and taste it, and then it kind of towards the end it somewhat mellows out, but you still get the taste of the spice. So it's just really nice. And then again, pairing it with the coffee just brings out a little bit more emphasis on the dark chocolate, a little bit more on like the caramel background, and it just pairs really nicely. So I definitely encourage you to try it. You can pick up a bag of Tazas Day Drinker on Tazas Coffee by Delicia. You'd be okay to, if you don't have that coffee or you don't feel like ordering that one, then you would be okay probably pairing it with, any of the Latin American, preferably Guatemalan coffee. And then I'd love to hear your feedback as always, but certainly try out the Norteño. If you can find the Edicion Limitada, it's a fantastic stick. And again, thanks for tuning in. Can't wait to read all your comments. And be sure if you do smoke it to tag me on Instagram, tag Drew Estate, show some love, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.